If there's an idea or philosophy that I should have narrated for a long time, yet haven't done so, it is the core idea of the term gentleman, especially in an era where modern masculinity has turned into a mess through several terms like alpha male, beta male, and most ridiculous of all, sigma male. These terms have been in discussion for a few years now, and still are to this day. Gentlemen, if you're not familiar with these terms, and congratulations for that, let me briefly clarify them. Alpha male, the pinnacle type of man in the social hierarchy, characterized by leadership, strength, yet modernized through loudness, effort building, a massive upper body, and a ton of money in the bank account. Beta male, the submissive type of man who tends to follow rather than lead, not so beloved in the modern masculinity realm, often reflected through a soft look, a skinny body, and worshipping women more than one's own pride. The last one, Sigma male, the most popular archetype among young men, championed by serial killer fictional characters, embodied an independent, self-oriented, and tragically social isolated character. Well, they seem quite weird, don't they? I admit that half a decade ago, I was one of those who explored these ideas and even adopted some of them in my own life, and I can confirm that they neither fix a problem nor address the cause that led to them in the first place. Because when you look beyond the surface and discover the real reason why modern men tend to crave and cling to these ideologies, especially the sigma male kind of stuff, it's because they are isolated, lonely, and unable to connect with society, whether with companion or, most importantly, the love of young women they are attracted to. They think that in order to fulfill those desires, they need to have millions of dollars and a muscular physique as fast as possible, so they cope by embracing the idea of focusing on themselves, working as hard as possible, and removing all distractions, perceiving dating, socializing, or cultural cultivation as such. And that's why modern masculine debates continue to this day. Now, let me clarify. Having big money is essential, and having a great muscular physique is delightful. But my question to all this ideology is, why on earth do they have to sacrifice the charm of socialization, the sophistication of culture, or the elegance of life for the sake of success? To investigate further, what's the definition of success actually? Since we are all living in a capitalist world, one universal aspect of success is getting rich or having more than enough money to survive and thrive daily. But what about other elements? Relationships, achievements that contribute to humanity as a whole, or even mastery in a specific area of life? Modern society has distorted the idea and definition of success for many, making them think they have to sacrifice everything to get it, that they need to suffer all along the way to finally taste the joy of life. And I'm here in this video to say those are just limited perspectives and far from reality. Because by the end of this video, I can assure you that you can forget about the idea of alpha, sigma males, or the depressing way of life that demands sacrificing everything for success, only to find emptiness at the end. Because a purposeful life and daily sophistication can coexist without sacrificing the very aspects that make life so joyful and elegant in the first place. And all of that can be achieved through the timeless archetype known as gentleman. The art of life is to know how to enjoy a little and to endure much. William Hazlitt. One aspect that I would like to address and redefine is the term discipline, the superpower that can turn a mere boy into a dedicated man who can create anything he desires. It's a term widely celebrated during the age of hustle culture and success-driven eras such as today. And that's a great thing actually, because without discipline, a man can never achieve greatness in life. Without it, he can't act beyond his temptation or emotions, which will lead him in the opposite direction. This can be seen through the romanticization of waking up at 4 AM, working instantly even when you don't feel like it, and pushing through till late morning. Again, I'm not against waking up early. I'm also a part of the 4 AM club, but what I would like to convey is that there's an overlooked aspect of discipline in the modern age of hustle culture. If discipline is the ability to do something you don't want to do, but do it anyway, my question is, why does it only apply to work that leads to monetization or financial accumulation? Can't it be used for other areas of life like socialization, mastery, or cultural cultivation? Because one thing I can confirm is that talking with strangers, especially ladies you perceive as beautiful, is not easy. Drilling a tennis swing and footwork isn't always fun, and practicing a dance routine requires just as much discipline. Now, gentlemen, do you see where we're heading next? That life as a man doesn't need to be limited to a single aspect. That pursuing multiple masteries in life doesn't mean you lack discipline, and that doesn't mean you are unproductive or weak, but rather a gentleman who refuses to conform to the limitations of modernity, achieving the best out of life in every aspect in the present moment. I once explored the concept of great life in the video titled How to Get Out of Rut and Live Like a Gentleman, which you can check out for a complete breakdown. But the big idea in that video is about pursuing one's purpose with sophistication. What does this mean, you might ask? Well, let me use an example from the most well-known fictional gentleman character, James Bond. There are hundreds of videos analyzing his style and body language. He's a character that was created 7 decades ago and is still a topic of discussion to this day. And from the latest Academic Award performance, it's clear that even amidst the woke and overly casual society, this character remains relevant. The name Bond, James Bond, is always synonymous with the idea of a gentleman, and what I want to highlight here is to look at his principles and way of life. To questioning, does he spend all his time grinding on work 24/7? Does he lock himself in a square room, sitting in front of his papers or laptop all the time? And does he sacrifice socialization with other gentlemen, great company with ladies, and other sophisticated activities? The answer is obviously no. And does that make him a weak man? A man without purpose? Also no. He's still a man of action, class, charisma, and discipline who always puts purpose above all else, yet never forgets to enjoy a daily dose of sophistication. This, gentlemen, is what I want to convey. You don't need to wait until you hit that big milestone in life to live like a gentleman. No need to sacrifice socialization and become an introvert who copes with the term Sigma male, and no need to discuss activities that cultivate your character, activities that give you life depth, intrigue, and interesting elements. And also, you don't need to skip dressing up daily for the sake of mental energy conservation. But here comes the eternal objection to this idea. Most people, or perhaps some of you, might think, yeah, Patrick, but James Bond's lifestyle is only fiction. To drive an Aston Martin like him, dress in Sartorial or Tom Ford suits like him, and travel the world like him, I need to become rich first. Well, it's not a wrong idea. In fact, it's quite accurate if you only look at it on a surface level. But if you look deeper into the principles and philosophy of the gentleman's lifestyle, like James Bond and other well-known figures, they all align with this wisdom from Cary Grant. My formula for living is quite simple. I get up in the morning and I go to bed at night. In between, I occupy myself as best I can. And what he meant by occupying myself as best I can is presenting and pursuing excellence in life through both internal character and external appearance, dressing up elegantly every day, holding manners, etiquette, and charisma in every social interaction, staying locked in on goals and purpose, the tasks that must be done, but also indulging in activities that cultivate character. With that said, my statement regarding this objection is simple. Money is an excuse for not living elegantly. Think of it like this. If the fictional character James Bond, whichever actor's version you prefer, or any other role model of a gentleman were placed in your current situation right now, would he delay walking in the path of gentleman? Would he think, oh, at this stage I need to sacrifice socializing with people, block out all habits and activities that cultivate my character, and work endlessly until I hit the big milestone? Probably, and most likely not, right? This all comes down to one fact. Your identity is what's stopping you from experiencing life as a gentleman. It has never been about the money in your bank account. Your identity, the way you perceive yourself, and the narrative you subconsciously tell yourself is what dictates everything that happens in your life. Think of it this way. Why is it so hard for many people to dress up? Because their identity perceives themselves as a man who doesn't belong in that attire. Why is it so hard for them to be charismatic? Because their identity perceives themselves as a man incapable of charm. The gentleman's lifestyle and character require no barriers to entry. It's true that centuries ago, this term was reserved only for those of noble birth who had the right to fully claim it. But nowadays, it is all about a state of mind, the way you present yourself in the physical realm. And when you fully decide to embrace this, your life in every single aspect will transform like never before. In the business realm, you will automatically be perceived by other respectable professionals as a man who is capable, mature, and gets things done. In the dating landscape, you will operate in an entirely different game from modern men. Not the loudest, not the submissive type and not the introvert who thinks he's cool for not giving a damn about others, but a man who is always at ease with himself and naturally projects that ease onto others, creating an irresistible charm for women. In philosophy and self-actualization, you experience mastery across various areas, attaining a depth of substance in life that goes beyond big muscles and millions in the bank account or any net worth portfolio. The magic of all this is that you can experience these finer things in life right now, and you should. Because the longer you delay it, the more dissatisfaction and lost time will rob you of experiences that are already awaiting for you. And the dilemma is this: whether today's or 10 years from now, the gentleman's path will still be the best way to live life. So, logically, today is the perfect moment to embark on it, and it all starts with just shifting your identity. See yourself as the man you want to become right now. This is a step that many men tend to overlook or miserably fail to do. Everything that happens in your life right now, from the moment you wake up until this very second, every action and thought is all based on your self-identity, the narrative and perception you tell yourself. The gentleman life path cannot be fully embarked on without first seeing yourself as one. Without it, no matter how much you change the way you dress, though that will certainly help, or how many habits and character traits you try to integrate into your life, in the end, the inner version of you remains the same as before. We act, feel, and perform in accordance with what we imagine to be true about ourselves and our environment. Maxwell Maltz, author of Psycho-Cybernetic. Think of how many great gentleman icons have gone through this process. Cary Grant, Dean Martin, they all shift the narrative they were born into and create the one they wanted to be in. For Cary Grant, he shifted from a poor boy in Bristol to the most charismatic gentleman in Hollywood. For Dean Martin, he changed the narrative of being an immigrant son, an outsider, to the coolest man in the room, effortlessly charming in a black tuxedo. Shifting your identity is the crucial step you must take, the stage where you must see yourself as a gentleman before you have the money to commission a bespoke suit, buy an Aston Martin, or travel the world in first class, which means a great life of gentleman doesn't happen by accident. It happens by rewriting the identity that's been holding you back all along. If you're serious about this and don't want to wait any longer, I recommend checking out my first ever info product, the Narrative Shifter, which has the exact blueprint for men who refuse to stay the same. And here's the thing, if you don't shift now, you never will. Because the longer you wait, the deeper your current identity locks in. With that said, the price is increasing soon. If you are ready to stop waiting, check it out through link in the description before the price goes up. Now, the question you might have is, yeah, Patrick, but how should I start this process? Back in my early days of attempting this, here's what I did first. Step 1. Find a role model, the idea of a gentleman you want to become. If you're a regular viewer of my content, you can probably guess that my role model was Sean Connery's James Bond. The scene that changed everything for me was his first appearance on screen, where he did something that no man in today's world would ever imagine.
And, we could have dinner afterwards, perhaps?
Sounds tempting. May I, let you know in the morning?
Splendid. My number's on the card.
If you only look at the surface, it's just a scripted scene from a film. But when you analyze the social dynamics, body language, and state of mind within Sean Connery's James Bond, you understand the real charm and temptation of being a gentleman, the ease of his mind, the elegance of his attire, the non-neediness he's projected. This is where it all starts for me. So, at the very first step, you need to have an idea of a gentleman persona of your own. After that, all you need to do, though not so easy, is embody that persona by using this simple prompt. How would the gentleman I want to become live my life from now on if he were in my position? This one simple question will shape your journey. What clothes would he wear? Where would he work? What activities would he engage in throughout the day? This prompt alone will help you discover every single aspect of your gentleman lifestyle, from the clothes and style you're going to wear, the structure of your daily life, the philosophy that will guide your decisions, the character and skills you cultivate, to the relationships and social life you'll build. Gentlemen, I highly recommend keeping a proper journal for this to make your thoughts clearer and visibly see the vision you are building. Step 3. Understand that external circumstances don't matter. This all leads back to one key fact. Your current financial situation or any other external circumstances don't matter. Once you begin adopting an identity, not just surface level habits, you will change at the deepest level of your mind. It will shape your thinking, your worldview, and the way you live your life from now on. In the end, this is the timeless character of a gentleman is developed. Now, let me give you some additional tips for this journey. On this long road, there is one thing you cannot avoid, just like the harsh reality of being a man who has decided to take control of his future. You need resilience and adversity to live this lifestyle. No less than the modern day hustle and grind culture, because the work will still be there, the development will still be required, and they're not always supposed to be fun. But here's the game-changing concept that separates a gentleman from a typical modern hustle-addicted man. You can turn that mundane daily grind into the art of sculpting yourself. In other words, make the ordinary extraordinary. I already deeply explored this concept in my not-so-popular recent video, Life is Cinema. Here's how you become a protagonist. The core idea is to add emotion, a cinematic aspect, to those mundane grindings. Again, we can use James Bond as an example. His job, deadly. His task, somewhat mundane at points. Yet every single audience who witnesses his lifestyle wants to live his life. Why? Because he adds a sense of adventure, a sense of refinement to his daily life. He always dresses elegantly based on the context. He works purposefully and intensively at his job. Yet after that, he does not forget to indulge in activities that shape his character. I know that his lifestyle, which seems so glamorous, requires money. Lots of money. But if you understand this as a principle and apply it within your own circumstances, it will work just as well with no problem. For example, at this stage of my life, I'm far from reaching the point of financial freedom. I need to get my work done on my own, without assurance of whether any of it will work or not. Yet I'm still able to dress in sartorial elegance, which many of my high-quality garments are vintage and cost less than first-hand, low-quality ones from fast fashion brands. I'm still able to experience the adventurous sense of Bond on a daily basis by using the tactic of switching environments. For example, someday I work at high-end co-working space. Other day, I drive to a local city near Bangkok and find a quiet spot to work there. And I am also able to dedicate additional hours to refining my skill and character on my own. Because there are tons of free resources or even budget-friendly learning options on the internet these days that allow you to learn anything by yourself. And that, gentlemen, is how you turn an ordinary grind into an extraordinary daily cinematic experience. And I must say that this archetype of a gentleman, the fact that you can start adopting this persona and experiencing the best out of life right now, from dating to career progression to self-actualization, makes it a no-brainer to stop waiting and stop clinging to the modern idea of sacrifice socialization or character development for the sake of money and muscle, since you can have them all at once. As I mentioned, it's all about shifting your identity, and if you want to make it happen as soon as possible, the narrative shifter is the way to do so. Again, the pre-launch phase will out soon and the price will be 30 to 40% higher. If you're interested, check it out through the link in the description. And before I end this weekly video, there's a great idea from a fellow gentleman who suggested I break down my outfit, something I should have done a long time ago. So with that said, here's what I'm wearing. For jacket, it's single-breasted 3-row-2 dark navy hopsack wool from one of the greatest ready-to-wear sartorial brand of all time, Ring Jacket. For shirt, it's a poplin blue stripe polo Ralph Lauren button-down. For trousers, it's vintage high-waisted Glen check with double forward pleats from Brooks Brothers. For shoes, it's my beloved James Weston black tassel loafers in calfskin, which is already breaking with both of my feet right now. And then I accessorize this look with a black slim belt with a gold buckle, matching the color of the Western loafers. If you want a full breakdown along with the thought process behind this attire, check out my newsletter, Gentleman of the New Renaissance, which is published every Tuesday. So by March 12th, you should see that issue. And gentlemen, that's all for this one. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm sure that we'll see each other soon. Until then, take care and have a wonderful day.